The Michigan Wolverines take on the Wisconsin Badgers this Saturday at noon. And we have Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, and the entire, the awesome crew is what I would like to call them, covering this game. Wisconsin is favored to win by 2 points, which I can understand as to why, but I am also just a little confused about that as well. Today I'm going to be previewing this game and at the end giving my prediction. Michigan is given a 69% chance exactly to beat Wisconsin in Madison, according to the FPI. However, Michigan hasn't won in Madison, Wisconsin since 2001, which is, 20 years ago. We haven't won in Madison in 20 years. It's crazy. Michigan scores an average of 40.3 points per game compared to Wisconsin's 19. We only allow 11.8 points per game compared to their 21.3. We each have around 400 total yards, Michigan with 454, Wisconsin with 400 that we produce on offense on average. But Wisconsin's offense is more turnover prone by far, as Graham Mertz has thrown 6 interceptions, and the team has also fumbled a numerous amount of times. Personally, I look at this game, and my heart wants to say, boom, gonna win by double digits, maybe even 20 points, because looking at what Notre Dame did. But my brain says, as a Michigan fan, haven't won there in 20 years. Harbaugh has never won in Madison. And just to be honest with you, looking at how the Rutgers game went, this could very well be a trap game. We couldn't stop Rutgers' run game. If we can't stop Wisconsin's run game, unless we can pass and run well on them, it's game over. Wisconsin, with Chez Mellusi is going to run. You also have Jalen Berger in that backfield as well. And they're a run-heavy team. Their running backs and tight ends are the key to this Wisconsin team. So I'm going to preview them first. So Graham Mertz obviously is their quarterback, leads with 566 yards, completes only 57% of his passes for an average of 6 yards per throw. He's only had 1 touchdown pass and 6 interceptions, and he's only been sacked 4 times, which on average, roughly just using some rounding, leads to only about 1 sack a game. Graham Mertz is one of the more unimpressive quarterbacks of this year. Mertz, Uiagalelei from Clemson, and another quarterback all started with Heisman level betting odds. And they are now, I think, the bottom 30 of quarterbacks by rating. Mertz is something that Michigan should not be scared of, to be honest with you. And there are people who are calling for Chase Wolf to come in and replace Mertz because Mertz is doing very poorly. But we really don't know, to be honest with you. We won't know how Wolf performs because I don't think he's ever played a game before this season. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mellusi, Isaac Guerendo, and Jalen Berger are the 3 main running backs. Mellusi leads with attempts, 69 attempts for 319 yards. On average, he gets about 4.6 yards per carry. His longest was 60, and he's had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Guerendo and Berger both have 1. Berger averages for 4.4 yards a carry, Guerendo with 7.3. Guerendo has 153 yards, and Berger has 70. Wisconsin totals with 610 rushing yards and 591 passing yards. And a lot of those passes from Mertz, what I've noticed in some of these games, especially the Notre Dame-Penn State game, toward the end, when their run fails, Mertz starts to panic, and the offense does too, and they get all pass-heavy, and that's when the turnovers happened. 2 picks against Wisconsin. I think Mertz must have had 4 against Notre Dame because Wisconsin had 5 total turnovers. It was bad. The offense is not the strength necessarily for Wisconsin. And Danny Davis, the third, leads in receptions, 193 yards, 16 receptions, and no touchdowns. Kendrick Pryor is the only guy with a receiving touchdown, the wide receiver, and you got Jake Ferguson, the tight end, as well. The offense ain't the strength here of Wisconsin, but Jack Sanborn, Leo Chenal, Faion Hicks, Caesar Williams, Wisconsin's linebackers are something else. They're absolutely something else. Nick Herbig leads, I believe, in sacks with 3.4. With Dante Burton leads with picks with 1. And Faion Hicks leads in passes defended with 4. Wisconsin also only allows about 212 yards on offense. And granted, that stat is very much beefed up by a game against Eastern Michigan, who only put up less than 100 yards against Wisconsin. So those stats are a little skewed, but Wisconsin's defense is their strength. The fact they held Notre Dame within that amount of points with that bad of an offense for so long, and they also contained Penn State to 16, and honestly pressured Clifford into missing tons of deep shots. Their defense is good. But if your offense is as bad as theirs, you can't, your defense will be worn down. And this will be the question. Both of these teams are run focused. They're man ball. The difference is thus far, Michigan hasn't made a single turnover yet, and Wisconsin is turnover prone. But Wisconsin's defense is also, I would say, tougher, and at the moment, I'd actually argue, more elite than Michigan's. And this game will be the ultimate test of that. Whoever wins this game undoubtedly will be the better team. I'd say entering this game, Michigan is the better team. So let's look at my Wolverines. Cade McNamara leads with 534 passing yards, completes 62% of his passes. You also have the notable backup J.J. McCarthy, who completes 66% of his passes. He's thrown for 122 yards and a touchdown. Cade has thrown for 3 touchdowns. The key here is Cade has never been sacked once. He just hasn't. Rutgers couldn't sack him, and Washington couldn't. Those are probably the 2 teams that we faced with competent defenses. Cade has a 165 QB rating. McNamara has basically a 180. The QBs, granted, aren't the strongest point. McNamara's missed a good amount of throws, but he is the ideal game manager. We need a quarterback who doesn't turn over the ball. That'll keep us in a lot more games than we've been used to staying in. Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins lead on the ground. 69 carries for Corum, 61 for Haskins. Corum has 475 yards, rushes for about 7 yards a carry with 7 touchdowns. Haskins has 6 touchdowns, 5.3 yards a carry, and 322 yards. And then you have Donovan Edwards, too, who hasn't seen as much but still is out there. And A.J. Henning and Roman Wilson have been used on those beautiful end arounds that have been executed very well. I'm hoping we see some of those against Wisconsin and get back at them with those jet sweeps and all that stuff, like they always do to us and burned us badly last year. Cornelius Johnson and Dalen Baldwin lead in receiving yards. Johnson has 8 receptions. Baldwin has 5. Baldwin has 99 yards to Johnson's 198, and both have a single touchdown reception. Corum also has 8 receptions, 57 yards, and a touchdown. So Corum can catch the ball as well, along with running it. Corum is amazing. He seems to have earned, pretty step in step with Hassan Haskins, who was presumed to obviously be running back number 1. But with that rotation going on with what Mike Hart has had, the run game has turned out to be very deadly. Rutgers exposed part of it by shutting it down, and I hope that the offensive line, the offense, and Mike Hart too. I hope they all learn from that ahead of Wisconsin. We got to test the edge more. I'd say even more so. You got to more so perfect the play action pass and get that more involved with how much we run. Because look at Wisconsin against Penn State. They repeatedly burned deep. And Clifford was the reason they were, the reason they didn't beat Wisconsin like by more than 6 points is because Clifford missed some of those key throws. So we need to better accuracy, focusing on perfecting the pass game, because if we're going to be running as much as we are, especially against Wisconsin, we have to make sure that when we need to pass, it's executed to near perfection. On defense, we're led in total tackles by Josh Ross, who was out for, I think, most of the game against Rutgers, but he is probable, according to Jim Harbaugh. It will be a huge gain for us to have him against this Wisconsin offense. It'll help us shut down the run. It'll just help us contain their offense, period, amen. Aidan Hutchinson leads in sacks with 4.5, and he has 18 sack yards. He even has a forced fumble. Brad Hawkins leads in passes defended, and Jamon Green leads in interceptions, one that he got against Rocky Lombardi. RJ Moten and Nikai Hill-Green have also stepped up, and Daxton Hill also has 3 passes defended. And Vincent Gray, who's horrible last year, 4 passes defended and looks to be a little bit better this year. I like how this defense and Steve Clinkscale have really helped this team completely turn itself around defensively from last year. So that's previewing both of the teams. So now I'm going to give my prediction, and that'll be the end of this video. So my prediction here is Michigan. I'm going to say Michigan 24, Wisconsin 13. And I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to put it in the perspective of the Penn State game. Penn State, I would argue at the moment, has a more solid and proven defense than Michigan. And I don't think Michigan will hold Wisconsin to 10 points or even 7 points. I mean, they can, but I don't think they will. I mean, Notre Dame couldn't, Penn State couldn't. I mean, just honest to goodness. And our defense has allowed a good amount of yards as well on average. I mean, we're a good bend but not break defense. But I'd say we're going to be facing, Wisconsin's going to have the best running back we faced thus far. They're going to have the best tight ends. They might have the best O-line. I mean, they probably do. They'll also have probably one of the better defenses. Their main weakness is the fact that their quarterback is one of the worst in the Big Ten. Noah Vedral, kept Rutgers within us. And it was the same thing with, Western Michigan. Their quarterback was the reason that they were pushing on us, the pass game. The pass game has been Michigan's main, I would say, in my opinion, main weakness. We allow more pass yards than rush yards. We allow a decent amount of rushing yards, but at the end of the day, it's just those, the pass game is what keeps our defense sometimes spread a little thin. So I imagine that Michigan's going to be stacking the box a lot. Wisconsin will score 13 points, maybe more, maybe less, but I'm thinking low-scoring game. My logic for Michigan scoring 24 is it'll be close around halftime, but Michigan can pass better. Michigan can actually run better. Michigan might have the better O-line and running backs. Granted, Wisconsin has the better rush defense, and eventually we're going to tire out Wisconsin's defense, and I would not be surprised if third or fourth quarter we score double digits in a single quarter at the end, kind of like what Notre Dame did and kind of what Penn State did as well. Toward the end, Wisconsin's defense just said, hey, the offense needs to do something. We can't just, be sitting on our heels all crunched up in the red zone. You can't expect us to stop them every single time. Also, Michigan has not made a single turnover. They are less prone to mistakes. So taking everything into consideration, Wisconsin can win, but I think Michigan wins this game by, at minimum, I'd say a touchdown, just my personal opinion. Like maybe somehow it could be kept in, but I'm thinking anywhere between a touchdown and 17 points, Michigan wins. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can immediately get a preview of my videos and just, click the notification and watch them. And comment your thoughts below too. What do you think about this matchup? I spent more time, just a few minutes more on this because I think it's interesting and I have respect for Wisconsin and I don't want to dismiss them. Wisconsin could beat us, and they are, despite being unranked and looking far worse than they normally are, they will still be a formidable test and indicator of how good Michigan is. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you around.